All right, welcome everyone to The Explainer. Today, we are basically tearing up the old playbook for importing goods. Look, sourcing household products in 2026 requires so much more than just a quick directory search. While China absolutely remains the dominant global manufacturing hub for everything from your kitchenware to plastic storage, the procurement landscape itself has completely fractured. It's broken into these highly specialized regional clusters. And if you're going to succeed today, you absolutely need to understand this new geography. So I want you to ask yourself, are you actually sourcing products, or are you kind of just scrolling through endless online directories, hoping for the best? Because the main challenge for buyers right now is no longer just finding a supplier. It's identifying a specialized manufacturing partner, someone with the precise production scale, the exact compliance certifications, and the right niche specialization to perfectly match your commercial goals. You need a real partner, not just a random name on a list. Here's exactly what we're covering today. First, the 2026 sourcing landscape. Second, China's top manufacturing hubs. Third, evaluating your ideal supplier. Fourth, navigating minimum order quantities. And finally, logistics and compliance. Let's just dive right in.
Kicking things off with Part 1, the 2026 sourcing landscape.
The modern procurement landscape really demands that we source by manufacturing cluster rather than just hunting for random, scattered factories. Think about what a regional cluster actually is. It's essentially an entire city dedicated to making one specific type of product. And that is a huge advantage for your supply chain. It means the raw materials, the tooling shops, and all the skilled workers are geographically centralized right there. Tapping into the right cluster keeps your local shipping costs way down and drastically speeds up your sample making. But honestly, the biggest win here, knowing exactly which city specializes in your product, lets you cut out the middlemen entirely and go straight to the source. Moving right along to Section 2, China's top manufacturing hubs. Now, when we map out these geographic ecosystems, we see four highly segmented hubs right at a glance. You've got Taizhou and Ningbo for plastic storage, Yangjiang for knives and kitchen tools, Shunde and Foshan for small appliances, and the Yiwu ecosystem for your small daily essentials. This breakdown shows you exactly where you need to go based on your category, your scale, and the level of customization your brand actually requires. Let's break these down one by one. First up, Taizhou and Ningbo, over in Zhejiang province. This coastal region is hands down the undisputed capital of injection molding and plastic household goods. If you're an e-commerce seller and you need stackable bins, food storage containers, or those clear acrylic organizers, this is your ground zero. The facilities here are incredible. They range from massive, fully automated plants to mid-sized workshops, offering everything from BPA-free food-grade plastics to completely custom mold creations.
Now, tooling in entirely new custom molds can be incredibly capital-intensive. Nobody wants to tie up all their cash on day one. So the real secret here is understanding the concept of public molds. These are existing factory molds that you can easily white label and just customize the packaging for. For a lot of importers, leveraging public molds is absolutely the most cost-effective route for a rapid market entry. You get that premium Taizhou manufacturing quality without footing the bill for massive upfront tooling costs.
Next, let's head down to Guangdong province and take a look at Yangjiang. This cluster accounts for a massive percentage of global cutlery and metal kitchen tool production. If you're sourcing chef's knives, forged hardware, or silicone-coated whisks, Yangjiang is exactly where you want to be. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Quality variance here is tied directly to raw materials. You have to be extremely specific. You must clearly call out your steel grades like 304 versus 430 stainless, and absolutely demand compliance with your target market's food contact standards, whether that's the FDA in the US or LFGB in Europe. No exceptions. Now take a look at the incredible contrast between our last two hubs. On one side, we have Shunde and Foshan, the epicenter for small domestic appliances and smart home tech. Sourcing here means you're dealing with high-tech PCB assembly, rigorous compliance testing, and typically high OEM minimum order quantities. On the totally flip side, we have the Yiwu ecosystem. Yiwu is less of a traditional factory hub and more of a massive, sprawling wholesale trading network. It's incredibly flexible. We're talking extremely low MOQs, sometimes just 1 to 5 cartons, with fast stock availability for low-cost daily consumables. It's a goldmine for dropshippers, but definitely not ideal if you need complex OEM projects or strict proprietary quality control.
All right, that brings us to Part 3, evaluating your ideal supplier.
So now that we know exactly where to go, how do we vet these factories? Well, evaluating a supplier goes way beyond just looking at the unit cost. E-commerce logistics dictate a much stricter vetting process today.
you really need to audit three main things. Step 1. Negotiate your packaging realities directly with the factory up front. Step 2. Optimize your volume versus your weight. And Step 3. Verify their lead time consistency by checking out the raw material supply chains. Factories that actually warehouse their own plastic resin or steel rolls are going to offer you much more stable lead times than those who just rely on just-in-time local purchasing.
I really want to zoom in on Step 2 for a second, because this is an absolute profit killer. Cubing out. This happens when highly volumetric household products fill up a shipping container's physical space long before reaching its maximum weight limit. Think about stuff like laundry baskets or storage bins. They're super lightweight, but they take up a ton of room. And since freight forwarders charge you based on dimensional weight, if you aren't careful, you are literally paying thousands of dollars to ship empty air. Finding a supplier who actively designs nested, flat pack, or vacuum-sealed products is going to save you from cubing out. Which leads us to Section 4, Navigating Minimum Order Quantities. MOQ requirements vary wildly based on your depth of customization. If you are just white labeling an off-the-shelf product, say throwing on a logo or a custom insert card, you can often negotiate MOQs down to a very manageable 300 to 500 units. Why? Because the factory absorbs zero tooling risk. But if you demand OEM customization with brand new molds, you are basically asking the supplier to completely halt their production lines just to calibrate your new mold. And boom! That is exactly why we often see the MOQ jump all the way up to 5,000 units for custom OEM projects. It sounds like a massive number, right? But that volume is strictly required by the factory to justify the setup time, the line calibration, and the sheer opportunity cost of pausing their other profitable runs. It's a huge volume commitment. But don't worry, there is a workaround. And this is a brilliant insider tactic to reduce your upfront capital risk when you absolutely need a custom mold. You can sometimes negotiate lower initial test runs if you agree to amortize the tooling cost across your future purchase orders. It's a win-win. It shows the factory you're committed to a long-term partnership, and it saves you from having to buy 5,000 units on day one just to test a brand new product concept.
Finally, Section 5, Logistics, Packaging, and Compliance.
All right, these are the final hurdles to make sure your goods arrive safely and, more importantly, legally. If you're sourcing items like smart diffusers or electric space heaters, the factory must provide specific safety certifications. For the US, you need UL or ETL listings, plus FCC compliance for anything emitting radio frequencies. For Europe, CE marking and ROHS compliance are non-negotiable. But hey, beyond legal compliance, there is logistical compliance. A lot of traditional factories quote prices based on flimsy standard bulk export cartons. You need to negotiate ISTA 3A drop test certified mailer boxes right at the factory level. Trust me, failing to do this will cost you a fortune in high product damage rates or ridiculously expensive prep center repacking fees once the goods actually arrive. And before you wire a single dollar, you absolutely must verify their actual capacity. Do not rely solely on those shiny, verified platform badges you see online. Anyone can get those. Demand a live video tour of the production floor. Ask specifically to see the injection molding machines or the assembly lines running in real time. Better yet, it is standard practice to hire a third-party inspection agency to conduct a full factory audit before paying that initial deposit. Verify it with your own eyes or through a trusted auditor on the ground. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one final thought. Is your supply chain actually built for 2026? Are you leveraging these hyper-specific regional clusters, actively optimizing your packaging to avoid cubing out, and rigorously auditing your partners? I really hope this roadmap gives you the tools you need to completely optimize your procurement workflows. Thanks so much for joining me to break all this down and stay curious.